Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Wrestling with the Willies podcast. We are doing it for the second time because my audio didn't come in the last time. So we're doing Crown Jewel 2022. And I think, as I was talking about the first time, that I think this is the first time we covered Crown Jewel in its entirety this time.
Yeah, well, I think one of them we were on the Jericho cruise.
Yeah, I know that last year we were on the Jericho cruise, so we couldn't really cover it. I mean, we
and
could
then the
have, but
first one
it
we
would have
just
just been a
didn't.
lot to talk about the cruise and do Crown Jewel and do I think there was a pay-per-view right after we got back or something too. So we're
I think so. I think it was.
because I
It
think it was
was.
probably either an AEW pay-per-view or we did whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I could look back at what the schedule, but what we actually did, but.
But yeah, it was just funny, the whole situation. We finished the whole thing and then my audio didn't come in. So it's okay, whatever. So
Yeah, it wasn't only on this one; it was on our Sci-Fi Graveyard
oh yeah,
podcast
so we
too.
had to
So we kind
re-record
of
that
got.
one too. So
Yeah,
what's it called? Pretty much the start of the match was Brock and Bobby, which of course it didn't last long, but I mean it was good for what it was. Even though that I don't think that Brock Lesnar needed his win back, but if they're gonna turn Bobby Lashley heel off of it, being more I'm just gonna beat up everybody type of thing, it kind of worked, but it looks like not so much now because what I was seeing from him now, it seems like he's still playing a face kind of thing, or maybe a tweener where it was in between.
yeah. You talking about Lashley? Yeah, yeah. He hasn't become a. He's still a, face. I
Yeah,
think.
which was weird because he was like,
Yeah,
"I'm just care about beating people up." Or
Yeah,
whatever.
we'll
So
talk
there's,
about it in the next podcast. Because the next one or the next WWE podcast is Survivor Series.
oh yeah.
So
So what's it called? So anyways, it was good for what it was. I'm tired of I like Brock Lesnar now, but also at the same time I'm kind of over his shit still. And I don't think he needs to show up as much. But I mean, I really love Bobby Lashley though. Still, with him being a face or a heel, still like Bobby Lashley, even though they kind of, I don't know, some of his matches are okay. But I mean, he's still pretty good. He does good to uh pretty good matches with just about anybody. I mean, there's not a whole lot of matches that I've seen from Bobby Lashley that I'm like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. But I mean, I still like him for a wrestler. Like, but I mean, I there's barely any wrestlers that I do not like, though.
yeah, to answer your question on that, it was Full Gear in
Oh, okay.
2021.
So
That's why
that's
we
what I
didn't
figured.
do.
Yeah. So, what's it called? So, yeah, pretty much not much to say on that match, mostly because it was so fast at 6 minutes. So they were
Well,
just like, "Hey, I gotta
that's
earn this
how pretty
paycheck and
much
get the fuck
all
out."
that's pretty much how all Brock Lesnar matches go, though. I
Especially
mean,
Saudi
they go
matches,
about
because
six.
if anything, from what I've seen, this was the best card that they had for a mat for a Crown Jewel pay per view, because I mean they had one where it was the Fiend versus or no, was it the Fiend and Goldberg one time where
I
the
think so.
Goldberg
I'm
beat
just
him,
glad it wasn't
and then there
like
was the DX versus the Brothers of Destruction match, and then there was a bunch of shitty matches at the end. It was like Undertaker going against Roman or something.
Yeah, at least they kind of did bring somebody in because they brought Logan Paul in, but
Yeah, but
um,
nobody really cares about Logan Paul. But
but he was in the
we'll
main
talk
event in
about
his
that in the
second
main
match, which
event.
is
Yeah,
lovely. Yeah,
it was Damage Control winning, going against Alexa Bliss and Asuka, where they were the title holders, and their reign was not fucking long. It was only a week or not.
yeah, I think that was a course correct, is what
Yeah,
it seems like to me. Like they said, oh, maybe we shouldn't have dropped it to him that fast, and not only that, I think they're flipping Alexa Bliss over to Bray Wyatt somehow because
yeah,
they're
it
still
seems like.
teasing that in the background.
And I like what they're
Um,
doing so far with the Bray Wyatt stuff. I mean, some people are thinking that it's a slow burn stuff, but Bray Wyatt stuff typically is better when it's a slow burn thing. to a degree. I don't think it necessarily has to have him in matches and stuff like that
Well,
because
it's just interesting to me. I mean, we're doing this podcast kind of late because this Crown Jewel was when
it
it
was last
was
month sometime.
October or November 5th. Actually, it wasn't that
Oh,
far.
it
I
wasn't.
thought it was,
Shit, it was still in the same month. Holy fuck.
yeah.
We did
So,
three pay per
yeah,
views in the same month.
yep,
Oh,
yeah. So,
shit.
but it seemed like it was longer than that. But,
Yeah.
you know, it just doesn't. I think with him, it's just surprising because with Bray Wyatt that he hasn't wrestled yet.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, that's why I'm wondering what they're doing because it looks like they're kind of booking him like, I don't know. It seems like he's kind of a face, kind of a heel type thing where, like, it seems like his mental state is going between being a bad guy and a good guy. And then also at the same time doing the Wyatt Six stuff, and they're doing like little bits and pieces here and there, like on every episode, like even the Alexa Bliss thing. So
well,
I
it'll
don't
be
know
nice
if it,
when there's actually some sort of payoff because right
yeah,
now
that's
I'm
the
kind
main
of
thing. That's one thing
what,
that people are worried about is if they're going to do
you know,
all this shit and there's going to be no payoff, it's just going to
yeah.
end.
Well, watching through all this, it's kind of like you don't know really what's going to happen.
Yeah. Like I liked how
Because
he like freaked out on like what's it called? He freaked out on a stagehand or some shit or like one of the security people at
yeah,
one
I mean,
point.
it's not much different. It's not much different than his prior gimmick, except the
Yeah,
funhouse isn't like
yeah,
he's
as
not in
the
the
main
funhouse. But
focus. Yeah,
I view that the Bray Wyatt in the sweater was kind of the same gimmick. He's just not a version of Pee Wee
yeah,
Herman.
and that's what I'm saying.
Um,
Like, but I mean, this match wasn't like great or anything either. Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, all the matches on this card probably were just okay. There wasn't like anything that really stood out. Like, it was like this match was okay. It was kind of funny how Damage Control won again, and then what's it called? And then there was Drew and Karrion Cross, where it looks like that's the end of their feud, which thank God because they, with what happened at Survivor Series, mostly because I liked how Drew kind of got his win back, even though that he kind of like got his ass beat from Karrion Cross. He just lost or whatever. But like, I don't know. Like, I think it would have probably been better if Drew would have lost both matches and then been out of it. But I don't know.
yeah,
They
we were
could have.
talking about that it would probably would have been a better payoff if he lost both.
Yeah, like because they could
Um,
have introduced something in their Survivor Series match, like being like, "Why the fuck should you be in this match?" or some shit, like based off of like the Karrion Cross stuff. But I mean, that is neither here nor there, and
well,
especially
Karrion Cross, they're booking better this time at least. I mean, I was totally confused when he came to the main roster and Scarlett didn't come with him, and then it was a completely different gimmick the last time. At least this one is pretty much the same gimmick, except maybe the way he dresses to an extent.
yeah,
And his
pretty much,
hair.
yeah.
I think he's got hair on his head now versus when
Yeah, because I think he was
before he didn't have
bald
any
or he
hair on
had,
his head.
yeah, I think it was close to being bald or something like that.
But I mean, it's the same gimmick with it, which is brilliant. The TikTok thing, I think it
Yeah,
works in
I mean,
any
it works
like
against
you.
whoever he goes against.
Well, it works whether or not you're a face or a heel too. I mean, you could be a face and still have that gimmick, and you can be a heel and still act that way. I mean, so it's at least that's what I think, anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
and what's it called? So that's why I'm saying like it would have probably been better, but I mean it makes sense. But like I don't really, especially knowing that it's only been like a month ago, I don't really. There's not really anything standout that I was just like, yeah, this is really good about this match. It was just like kind of there essentially. So I'm just like, and it feels bad for both guys because I mean I would like to like remember some of the stuff, but I mean when you see a lot of WWE matches, a lot of them are kind of the same,
well, the
and
only
like they
thing I
don't do
think
anything
that
crazy.
I think the only thing with Karrion Cross that kind of annoys me is as big as he is, Scarlett's involved too much. in his matches.
Oh yeah, like I don't think she
I
needed to. The last match that we were doing, how she maced Drew in the eye. I don't think she or the shot fire. What's it called? Pepper spray in his eyes. I don't think that needed to happen. I think he could have beat him perfectly by himself, and it would
well,
have
it just
probably been
always
more
makes those
impactful.
guys look weak. I mean, as big
Hmm.
as those guys are, I don't think they need help.
Yep,
Now,
definitely for sure.
if she needs to help in any type of way, it's more like talking, which I think is the reason Zelina Vega, or I don't even, I think she's just Zelina now. I don't think she's Queen Zelina anymore.
Yeah,
But with her with the
with Legado del
Phantasm,
Fantasma.
yeah, I think she's the speaker.
Yeah,
That's what she
she's
does
the
for
mouse
them.
box. Yeah, she's the
Yeah,
one and coming out there telling them, like trying to hype up the team, and I think
pretty
that's
much
why
how
they
she
work
was
well
with
with.
how she was with the prior group she managed. I can't remember the name of it. It had
It was probably
Angel
the one
Garza.
with Angel Garza and
Yeah,
not
yeah, but I can't
Umberto
think of the
Del
name
Rio,
of it.
but or it was fucking Andrade, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
but you know,
kind of
those are the
crazy
guys
with
that can't.
Andrade
They
now.
always need those for the people that. See, and that's why I've always been surprised Asuka hasn't had like a manager that talks for her.
Yeah, even though the
Um,
fucking promo that she cut after this, where she was talking to Io Sky, and they were going back and forth, and then they showed what they were talking about, and then at one point she's like "baka baka 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 baka," and then Io Sky's just like "bitch."
I know,
That's so
but the only
good.
word that most people
Yeah,
understood was bitch.
yeah,
I
pretty much
mean,
essentially,
you
yeah.
would have to go back and subtitle the whole thing
And
or
I only know
translate.
about Baka just because I've watched a bunch of anime. I know exactly
Yeah,
what that's about. But
well,
like
it's
everything
stupid,
else,
right?
you could barely even tell. But I mean,
Isn't
like
Baka
I'd much
stupid?
rather her fucking talking her dialect rather than try to speak in English.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, but you should have somebody like. I just feel like in this environment, you should, even if she's gonna do that, I think it would come off even better if she had like a speaker piece, almost translating that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like when
Like,
Shinsuke, you couldn't tell what he said, but like it worked when he tried to be a heel. When he was a heel, he sat there and was like, "Oh, I can't speak
one,
English," and just walked
yeah, that's
away.
when it works better. But when you're a face like she is, you have to have somebody saying the stuff. I mean, it
But I
just
mean,
doesn't
she
come
could have
off the
been
same.
a tag team with a good talker. Like if she was in a tag team with Sasha or some shit, like she would be like, "Duh." I'm like, what would you think? And she's like, nobody beats Oscar. That's like how they would end fucking their team shit. Like even if, unlike Alexa Bliss could talk, right? Like she ain't that great at talking, but she knows how to like piss people off, right? But like as a face, I don't know if I've heard like anything really good from what she's done as a face, but I know she could piss people off with being a heel. But like that's the main thing. Like, but by far, even though I fell asleep through like the ending of this match, mostly because we watched it super late when we saw it, like because the replay took forever for it to show up. We didn't start watching it until 11:30. I think it was 11:30 or close to midnight. So by the time that we were done with this pay-per-view, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. I think somewhere around
It
there,
was something
or at
like
least
that. Yeah, it
my
was
time.
11. It was like 1 o'clock my time, or two
Yeah,
o'clock time
yeah,
my
like
time, or something like
it
that.
was like earlier for me, but then it was still like 3 in the morning or
Yeah, you
whatever by the
fell
time we
asleep
got.
earlier than me. I fell
Yeah,
asleep in
yeah.
the final match, which
Yeah, so like I kind of fell asleep at this one because well, I watched about half of it, but then I woke up in between, like at the very beginning of Braun Strowman and Omos. So
but
I
I went
missed
back and
who,
rewatched it,
but I mean,
and
also at the
you
same
know,
time, I knew I watched the highlights to watch the rest of the match, who won it, and all that stuff. Like now, when recently,
you're talking
but
about
I knew the
Judgment Day
Judgment
against
Day
the
was gonna
OC.
win against the OC. Even though I'm kind of curious what they're doing with Carl Anderson, especially now. They haven't really done anything with the never open weight title belt. If anybody knows or doesn't know, New Japan has a never open weight belt, that goes to like, because they do a lot of it ranked by kind of like boxing standards where they have like heavyweight, light heavyweight, blah blah blah. They go like down the sizes kind of like boxing. And essentially the never open weight goes for anyone on the card. So like somebody 300 pounds could go against somebody that's 100 pounds, but typically whenever they do like their light flippy matches where Will Ospreay's in them and stuff like that, like typically he goes against somebody his size. It's kind of like 205 live in a matter of speaking. But like at one point, so he was working both the Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows were working in New Japan before they signed a deal with WWE again. And Carl Anderson was still the never open weight championship holder. So technically, he started being on the card for Crown Jewel. Then it contradicted with the New Japan date that they had scheduled. So then they were like, if you don't show up in ours, then we're going to vacate the title from you, so on and so forth. So he came out and said that he will be in a match regardless. You could, it will be of a time of his choosing, kind of playing up because I think they were heels in New Japan because they're in the Bullet Club. I think they're mainly a heel faction. Like, I don't think they've ever been like faces. So he came out and said that eventually he was going to wrestle, but on his time. So I'm assuming that it's going to be at Wrestle Kingdom because nobody has really said anything yet. It's been a month because there's been like, or about a month since he got transferred, and you haven't really heard anything. And typically, whenever they do Wrestle Kingdom, it's at the very beginning of the year of January. So like right, it's like January 5th or 2nd or something like that. It's like right at the beginning of the year, and it's their biggest pay-per-view.
Well, I
So
guess there's a second night of it they've announced.
yeah, they usually do two
Um,
nights. They usually do two nights, which is
yeah, so the
actually pretty
first night
cool.
is on January 4th,
And if anybody
for,
likes
and then the
AEW
second
or
night is
like just
January
straight,
21st.
if they do straight pure wrestling, very good, especially if you get New Japan World. It's definitely worth it. It's only $10 a month, and you get to watch their whole entire New Japan catalog. I highly recommend it, especially if you like Asuka and Shinsuke and you want to see their older matches when they used to beat the shit out of people. You can watch that shit on there. So, what's it called? Eventually, we should do a Wrestle Kingdom video or something. But
Yeah, I know we're
that's
gonna be doing, besides the pay-per-view, we're gonna do one on that Teddy Hart guy, right?
yeah. I was thinking about doing one on that too because they just released uh, a docu
Yeah,
series, I
on
guess you could
Peacock.
call it,
Yeah,
a docu series on Peacock about like Teddy Hart. It said like cons, cats, and something like missing persons or
crime,
something. I've
crime.
seen the first two episodes so far, and yeah, I was just like, maybe we should cover this. It seems like it would be worth it to talk about. So, what's it called? So, where am I at? Oh yeah, Judgment Day.
Sounds like
Blah, blah,
he's
blah.
penciled into work the January 4th.
Who is?
Uh,
Oh, talking
Carl
about Carl
Anderson.
Anderson. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it's January 1st. Okay, so that means that he's definitely at Wrestle Kingdom, which I mean that's kind of cool knowing that like WWE is fine with that and they didn't have him just drop it. He probably just wanted to do them right, you know. Like, and so that's one thing I like about Triple H right now because I don't think Vince McMahon would have allowed that, like for him to compete at another place. So I mean, like I like what Triple H is doing so far, even
Yeah, I
though
don't know why I honestly, I never understood why it mattered. I would think it'd be better for wrestling if you did that.
yeah,
The only
especially
thing that
combined
comes about
people.
it is
So
liability, I guess, and I think
yeah,
that's maybe where Vince was coming from. Is if they get hurt on the New Japan show, who's
they'll
liable
fuck
for
him
it?
up on his show. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
mean, but I mean, they could explain that because lately they've been like I noticed on some pay per views or even some Raws and SmackDown, they've been even commenting on New Japan about certain things, which I think is cool. But like, and then there's like I would say, even though that I love Braun Strowman, I think that Braun Strowman versus Omos was a pee break match because
Yeah, I
I
think so
definitely
too. But
didn't
my
care
biggest
about
thing with that,
Omos.
yeah, my biggest thing with that is so far I don't know what they're doing with Braun.
Yeah, I know. It seems like
I
they just brought him back just to bring him back.
Yeah, I
Because
mean
I mean, they
because
haven't
he's
done
had this
anything with
match,
him.
but
They
I
had him
don't think
beat
he
up
did
Alpha
anything. Well,
Academy, and then they've had him go against Omos. But like, where else do you go? Like, if you're not going for a title, and definitely Braun is like one of those guys where he has to go to a title or be in a tag team or something.
well, yeah, because we'll talk about it before since it's been that long since Crown Jewel. But when we talk about Survivor Series, he wasn't even on that card. So,
Which was weird. I mean, like, that's what
yeah,
I'm saying. It's like the whole thing. I kind of understand if you don't have like if you have certain stories that are explained more than others, and that's one thing. But like, I don't know. It seems weird to have him in this match and then like fucking not have him on Survivor Series, even if it was like I don't know. I would much rather
I
have
think
him
they're.
be.
I honestly, I feel they're booking him wrong right now.
Yeah, I
I
definitely
think
think that too.
because I think they should go back to the whole. He's monster of all monsters. I think he needs to start pulling sets down and shit again, and pulling and pushing cars over and shit like
Well,
that. Because
hopefully
I
they
think
do
that's
some where he's like in the Wyatt Six at one point or something. I know he's
and that
better off
might be the
alone.
payoff that we're waiting for.
Well,
Because
that's the main thing, especially if they try to rehire Rowan. I mean, knowing that they can't have Luke Harper, which rest in peace, Luke Harper, right? Uh, but like, if they can't have Luke Harper, I definitely think that they should have Braun Strowman and him in the group in some form. I mean, just because it would feel fitting, like together, especially if he was like Huskus or something, or not Huskus, but the new guy, the Uncle Howdy or whatever they call him. But I don't know. Like the way that I've been seeing it is just like I want him to do something else other than what he's doing.
oh yeah, point blank. I mean, I've been a fan of Braun Strowman since the beginning, and he's shown that he can get ripped. So he's focused on
And honestly,
that. So
honestly, I think that probably I don't know.
almost shouldn't even be in the
If
WWE
anything,
in
I
my opinion. But
probably thought that probably the match of the night, even though that's saying something, mostly because Rich Holland and Butch was the Usos versus Brawling Brutes, even though that's not saying much because the whole pay per view is okay. And same with this one. I knew the Brawling Brutes weren't going to work like win, but it was nice knowing that it was a different people that they were going against instead of New Day because this one was like right before their end of the reign. So it was nice knowing that it was like not the New Day, not Street Profits, not like the same people like over and over again. And I hope, know that they're starting to do this shit where War Raiders are back again. And it sounds like they're naming them the War Raiders instead of the Viking Raiders. It sounded like it, at least to me.
well,
Like I
yeah, and
thought when
Sarah
they
Logan's with
introduced
him.
them,
Sarah Logan's with him.
and now they're naming her Valhalla, and that is fucking a dope ass name for a wrestler. Like especially if you're doing a fucking damn uh Norse mythology type of character. It's dope to be like, it's time to go to Valhalla, bitch, and then they just destroy people. Hopefully, they take them damn titles off of the new or off of the Usos. That'd be pretty dope. But I mean, this match was okay. I love Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne's my favorite. I'm like one of my favorites. Always has been. So like, it's nice knowing that he was actually in a match on pay per view and stuff like that, for him to be highlighted in. That like, I mean, they've been getting behind the Brawling Brutes for a while now, especially like even on Survivor Series, they were on that too. But like, I definitely like they're doing that, and it would be nice if they turn him back to Pete Dunne at one point. But like, if he still stays Butch, then whatever.
Well,
But
he's
like,
basically Pete Dunne named Butch.
yeah, because it shows like Pete Dunne, and then it shows like in the parentheses or not parentheses, but between it like a nickname, it says Butch, like
Well,
on
it's the
his
same
Twitter.
thing that what they're doing with Mia Yim. I mean, they originally were gonna call her Mishin, or something like that. But then they've made that like an apostrophe, like a nickname in front of her name. You know, like Ravishing Rick Rude. It's Mi Shin Mia Yim, and I guess Mi Shin supposedly stands for something.
Oh, oh, okay.
But so they're doing the same thing. Butch doesn't stand for anything, but it's like they've went that route versus
Oh, so
getting
it's
rid of names
so
now.
his name is
So
still Pete Dunne when he comes out, but they call him Butch.
I think they just call him Butch though. I don't know that I've seen Pete Dunne with Butch in
Yeah.
parentheses. I think they
Well, I
just call
just
him
see that
Butch.
on his Twitter feed. That's what I was wondering.
Okay,
But
yeah,
but
I think
anyway,
in
that's mostly
WWE they
why.
just call him Butch.
Yeah, it's not like that. The Usos is a reason why I liked it. Like the match the most is because Pete Dunne. Love Pete Dunne. How he just like break. It tries to break your arms and shit. I love that shit. If I was a wrestler, I'd probably do that. I would probably want to kick you in
Yeah,
the
and that's
face a
why I
bunch
brought
and
in Mia
stuff.
Yim though, because that kind of goes back to the OC
Oh
match
yeah,
because
because
they
like right after this, that
right
I
after
think
this
it was
Mia
like
Yim came
I think it
back.
was the Monday or a Friday afterwards. Me and Yum showed up to help with the OC. So yeah, and then there was like, of course, the last two matches, which was Bianca Belair and Bailey in a ladder match. And I liked the ladder match before better, the one that they did before she got her knee hurt. Even though there was some spots where it looked like she was going to land on her, and like there was a spot where she landed directly her knee like right up on the ladder. And I was like, hopefully she didn't hurt her knee again. But it looks like she's fine. But
And
yeah,
it's
at the
funny
time I was like,
because I
oof.
think we were talking about that because we'll talk about like when we talk about Survivor Series, um, there was a return that didn't show as much ring rust to me as Bailey has shown since coming back.
Well, I mean, also at
And
the same time, like Bailey was out for I think like at least a year. I think
I know,
when
but
she
it's
was out, but
well, you
still,
know, I've
yeah.
never really been a fan of Bailey. I talk about it
Yeah, I
almost every
know.
time
Like,
we
yeah,
talk
if
about
anybody
Bailey.
was
Is
probably your least favorite, like out of anybody that's in WWE right now, probably if your least favorite, it would probably be Bailey.
that's
I
in
mean, other than
WWE right now,
Tamina
yeah.
and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, Tamina's not on TV enough to really count,
Well,
but
that's what I'm
if
saying.
she,
Anybody currently on TV right now is probably Bailey.
but I mean, yeah, Bailey's up there. Ronda's not really much of my
Oh
favorite
shit! Have you seen that
either.
they're having like a fire Ronda Rousey thing now? I
Well, yeah, we'll
guess.
talk about that during the Survivor Series one,
Well,
but
I
it's
didn't even
because
see
of
it
that.
until like the other day. I was like, oh,
Yeah, it was
okay.
because of that match with Shotzi on this at Survivor Series. But
Ah, okay,
um,
nice.
I think you might have skipped out during that match. If I don't
Well,
remember if you were there for that
I
one or.
remember watching it, but I didn't know why. I'm like, I just saw that they were saying like hashtag Fire Ronda Rousey, and I was like, I wonder
Yeah,
what the
I
fuck
just
that was
remember there
for.
was one where you had to you went to Wendy's to get
Oh yeah, I
food,
went to the store, but
and
yeah.
then another you had to take Rusty home.
Oh,
So,
that wasn't that. That was for Full Gear. That's what it was.
oh, that's
Right.
right. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
so
and I
I'm thinking of the
remember
wrong
I
pay per view, but
rewatched it since then. So I'm
yeah, so we'll talk about
rewatched
that
the
on Full
episodes that I
Gear,
missed.
but on the next pay per view that we talk about,
Yeah,
or on
but
the next podcast.
yeah, like the Bianca one was like nothing that I haven't seen before. Like and like
No, and
the
Bianca
first one
Belair
was better.
carried this match. I mean, like
Yeah,
she's pretty
it's
much
mostly
done for a
because
while
like I
now.
could see why they're high on Bianca though. Like I could see why. She's a good talker, good to great talker most times. Mostly because she feels like she's got the swagger, right? Like she could carry herself
Oh,
in the
she does.
ring
I'm
no
just
matter
glad
what.
she hasn't been doing the smack the ass
Oh
thing. I
yeah.
think I've talked to you about that before. Was that was the one thing
I
that
think
bothered
that's the
me that
only
she
thing that
did.
bothers you, yeah. Like whenever she
Yeah,
comes to the ring,
and
she
I
smacks
talk
her
about it
ass.
all the time. She'll smack her ass every once in a while. And I'm like that. I don't that doesn't fit
Well, I just think that
wrestling.
she's just saying "kiss my ass" or something. That's what I'm
Well, I
guessing.
get
But I
that, but you
mean,
could
I don't
say
know.
that versus
Yeah.
smacking. I mean, it
I
just
mean,
doesn't
it's
come
like
off
me.
right
Like I
to
didn't
me,
even know
anyways.
what the EST thing was for the longest time because they never explained it on NXT. And then she gets brought up, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the best. I'm the fucking realist. I'm the like, oh, so on and so forth." It's like, oh, it makes so much more sense now. and I could feel the like the that she means it, right? I think that's one reason why I like her so much, is because I could tell that she even like outside of wrestling, I think she believes that shit, and especially like knowing that I was talking to you at one point how she made her own ring gear, and she was talking about that she was making her ring gear
Yeah, it's
while she was
funny. Right after
flying.
you said that, I saw a Twitter post of her like sewing her shit up because it wasn't like
Yeah.
completely
And I was
done
like, dude, talk
the
about
day
like
of
somebody.
Survivor Series, I
It
think.
makes
Or
sense why she has a look, like a certain look for all her ring gear and stuff like that. It's because she makes it herself. And I was like, dude, talk about like being real good on that shit. Because I mean, I don't know if like WWE like may offers a cut for somebody to make their ring gear for them, or if you have to pay somebody out of pocket when they're
well,
there.
I think
I
they
don't know
have a
how their shit
tailor.
is.
WWE does. If you've ever watched like Total Divas or like The Miz
Yeah.
or Miz and
I
Mrs. I
haven't
mean,
watched Mr.
um,
Mrs., but I've seen Total
they
Divas though. But
they'll talk to a girl backstage that does a lot of that stuff. It's
yeah,
like the
well, that's what I'm
seamstress for
saying. I just didn't
WWE.
know if like
But
WWE covered the bill or if they had to
but
pay it or what.
but yeah, yeah, that I don't know because they don't really ever talk about that. But at the same time, like Sasha Banks, her husband is the one that makes her
Yeah,
clothes,
yeah. And that's why
which
I'm
I
like,
thought
it
was
saves
crazy.
her fucking shit too. Like that, but like, yeah, it would make sense for a lot of this stuff. But that's what I'm saying. It shows how much talent she has. If she could do that, she could run track. She could do like pretty much all the shit. So it's like believable for her character to be like putting on an image where it's like, oh yeah, I'm the best. I'm this and that, because it's like she does so much, so it's believable when she's in the ring. Especially she messes up with certain people. Like I think it was more like in Survivor Series, but like there was not really a whole bunch of flubs in this match that I could remember. But like most of the time, she doesn't really like. Most of the time, I've noticed that if she does fuck up shit, it's like very minimal. Like so, I could see why they're high on her and why she has the title, and she's had it so long. Like I'm wondering if she's gonna make it till like Royal Rumble. I'm assuming that fucking either Ronda's gonna lose it to Charlotte or Charlotte's gonna beat Bianca for it. I'm thinking that's what they're gonna try to do. Is whenever
Well,
Charlotte
based
comes back, that's what's
well,
gonna
yeah,
happen.
I'll tell you, based on the
I'm
based on the
thinking during
and
Royal
we
Rumble,
could talk about it
Charlotte's.
more during the Survivor Series, but the press conference afterwards, I would say more than likely will be the latter.
Oh, what, going against Ronda or
No,
Bianca?
Bianca. The
Oh, okay. See, that's why I wouldn't
um
be surprised that they would put, because
because
I think she's
Bianca
on Raw, right?
mentioned
Bianca's on
Bianca.
Raw.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but Bianca mentioned there's two people that she would like to face, and one of them was shoot. Well, one of them was Charlotte. The other one was gosh dang. I'm trying to remember who the other one was.
I know
It
Charlotte
wasn't
was.
Becky.
I know Charlotte because that's the only one that she hasn't beaten.
Yeah, she wants to beat all four horsewomen. But there was one other one that she said she wanted to face, and I can't think of the. It was the first one she mentioned, but I can't think of the name. For some
Probably
reason, I'm drawing a blank.
like somebody old or like
No, no, it's someone that's in WWE right now, and but I can't think of who she is for
whatever.
some reason.
We'll remember it at one point. But then, of course, there was the fucking main event, and it was Logan Paul and Roman Reigns. And Logan Paul, I think, is a crap human being. I think that he makes sense, and he's talented, especially it shows in this match. But like ever since the Suicide Force thing, if anybody hasn't known about that, pretty much he filmed somebody either just about being killed or like killing themselves or like in the process of doing it or even like afterwards, like filmed it afterwards, but he filmed a dead body in the Suicide Forest and his reaction to it. and I think he got a full copyright strike on his channel because of it. But like legit, I mean, like he blurred the face out, but like if anybody could see his body, the dude's body, like it's like shows like it's kind of fucked up to do. Like I understand why he's like, holy shit, I didn't think that was going to happen. But you're going to a place nicknamed the Suicide Forest, and then you're surprised when there's a dead body there. It just seems kind of stupid. So I'm like, I understand that people say that like stupid people like people make mistakes and this and that. With all that in mind, I mean, like I'm sure that he's trying to separate himself from that, but like I don't
Well,
think him
it
or his
must be
brother
nice
are great
to be
people.
able to. It must be. And I understand he did great work with YouTube, and he got all those subscribers and all that stuff, and then branched out and was able to like, use that to do better stuff. But I just don't get. For one, I don't get the fascination with the guy. And two, it's just like the Floyd Mayweather thing. I mean, I talked about for years that I would fight Tyson for $1 million. And I always said I'd take a punch and hit the ground. I mean, I, I wouldn't sit in the, but I can tell you that for one, Floyd Mayweather's not very big. So, I probably could last a little bit with him, but the
He's
way that
never
fight
been like
went,
a fucking offensive fighter too. He's always
no,
been
but
a
that
defensive
the way
fighter.
that fight went, that fight was just a money fight. So
Yeah,
it
you
was
could tell it
more,
was a money fight.
they
And he even
negotiated.
literally
I'm
said,
gonna get 10 million, you're gonna get 5, and we're gonna sit here and just kind of spar for 8 rounds or whatever it
yeah,
was.
and
And
legit, like Mayweather even convincingly said he was only in it for the money. Pretty much, he
I
didn't
mean,
say that
and for him
they
to turn
weren't
around and
wrong.
say, "I went 8 rounds," yeah, you did, but could you
You,
have if
but
Floyd
if he
Mayweather
was
really
legit,
fought?
if it was a
If Floyd
legit
Mayweather,
boxing fight where you
yeah,
had to be like and doing everything that they said in it, would you have
yeah,
though? No.
yeah, if Floyd was fighting today, or if he was fighting them for real, they wouldn't have lasted around.
He
And
literally didn't even. He lost a fight to another YouTuber. Like he
yeah,
lost a fight to KSI, this other YouTuber, and that's why I say that Jake Paul's more talented in boxing than he is, and it shows. Even though that I think he just like definitely pays people off, or
but
at least
Jake
does
Paul gets
something.
these old
Allegedly,
MMA
I should say.
guys that, I mean, like Anderson Silva's almost 50 years old,
Yeah,
way
and
past
he
his
does it,
prime, and
and
he
yeah,
barely beat him.
and
So I
literally
mean,
a
it's
UFC fighter and not a boxer. I mean, granted, I think he was more like I think in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and then he was a kickboxer, a Muay
well, you
Thai
notice he's not
fighter.
fighting
But
like Tyson Fury or any of them.
that's what I'm saying. And then Jake Paul's talking about his younger brother, Tyson Fury's brother, but then they keep on convincingly don't fight at the time. And then he says like, "Oh, he backed out. He couldn't get over here." Blah blah blah, talking shit the whole time. I'm like, yeah, right. If you paid Tyson Fury like however much to get in a boxing fight with him, would you survive? Fuck no, you wouldn't. He was probably one of the best boxers that they have right now. I know we're
Well,
getting
like I
off
said, I'd be
topic
real
for like a
interested to
wrestling
see,
thing
like,
to like do
I'd
boxing,
challenge the
but
guy. I'd challenge the guy, and there would be no, like,
well, that's what I'm
let's see
saying.
if he
He's
could knock
probably
me
pound for
out.
pound the best boxer that there is, and probably his like brother is probably not exactly as good as he is, but even if he isn't as good as he is, still could wreck Jake Paul. Not saying that he doesn't have talent because obviously he does because he could not. Like I don't know. I could go all day into Jake
Oh,
Paul
we
shit,
could,
but
but I mean, this match was
like
okay.
that's what I'm
Logan
saying.
Paul
That they are
showed a
talented
lot
because
of.
Logan Paul
Now,
is talented when it comes to the ring because he hasn't wrestled for long, and this
well,
was a
he's
decent
young. We
match.
talked about that before. Like, if you've got nothing else to do and he's young, this is all he's doing probably for the last 3 or 4 months. Is just working on wrestling stuff however long. And I think he was being trained by, um, who the hell was it?
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best wrestler
Yeah,
around
yeah.
to teach you anything.
Yeah.
So it's like
And that's because you're a
if
fucking
he's not
name,
any
not so
good,
much because
the
like fucking you're like only because the name because they wanted to put on a good match. But
but it
like
was
it was a
also a
typical
typical
Roman
Roman
match.
Reigns match.
Yeah, so it was boring. Like to
It
me,
was
it was
a
boring.
typical Roman Reigns
I
match.
mean,
Every Roman match goes exactly
yeah,
the same way.
yeah. And
And
then I
it's like,
liked how like he did the elbow onto the thing while holding the camera in his hands. I thought that was funny. But also at the same time, it went the same exact way, did everything the exact same way,
yeah,
and then
Roman
nothing
gets wrecked
different. And then
for an entire
Roman's,
match, and then
yeah,
he'll do one spear or whatever, and then it's over with.
yep. And we keep talking about this every damn Roman Reigns match. He does the same fucking bullshit, and every time he wins, and we talk about like how fucking old and tired, like 1,000 day reign or close to 1,000 day reign of like having both or well, like having the first one. I know he hasn't lost in like 1,000 days or some shit, but like he's been like 700 and something days with having both belts, and it's like that's fucking ridiculous, man. Like when they're doing the same matches over and over again, it's like fuck, it's boring. I would much
But
rather see
however,
both of the
when we
titles
talk
split up.
about Survivor Series, probably one of the best story written matches was actually the war game, the men's war game match.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
So we'll
always the
talk
War
about
Games
that
matches
when we
I
talk
loved
about
anyway.
Survivor Series in a couple of episodes. But
Barely ever do they ever do like a bad War Games match. I barely ever see like, especially lately out of the newer ones, there isn't really that many that I'm just like, fuck this match. Like, and that says something. But yeah.
well, I
So
get that, but I mean, I'm just saying storyline overall because they did exactly storyline wise what they needed to do.
yeah. So with
But
all that
anyways,
being said, so the next one we'll be talking about soon is Full Gear. And then after that, we'll be talking about Survivor Series. And then after that, I think it's like, what's the one in December?
well, we've got
The
time for
third.
that because I don't even know if there's one in December. Um,
Yeah. So
I think
whatever.
we
I
talked
mean, like,
about. I think the let me look because I think the next WWE pay per view is Royal Rumble
well, that would be nice anyway. Because
because
I
day
know
one was
Revolution
canceled.
is
So
in
let me.
January too. I think, or no, it was like February or March, right?
Yeah,
Like,
well, there's NXT Deadline December 10th.
well, if we feel like watching, like, I
Yeah,
mean, we should watch that one because they have the what's it called? The what's it called? Iron Man Survivor thing. I'm intrigued with that. I want to see how they do that match.
yeah. So I mean, we could do that one, but we could also. You were talking about Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe we can look into that in
Yeah,
December
because
since there
that would
really
be dope
isn't.
if we could do Wrestle Kingdom this time. Do like just combine the nights one and two, but I mean we would have to split that up because otherwise, if we would watch it, it would be like 2 in the morning. Because when they start it, it's like it's balls deep in the morning. Like on my time, it's like 2 in the morning. I think it's like close to 2 in the morning when it starts.
Yeah, because AEW doesn't really have anything like pay per view wise until
Yeah, until
what
Revolution, I think.
Revolution in March.
Yeah.
So
So if you guys have made it this far, thank you for joining us on this podcast. And like, if you're interested in anything else, we do music. What's it called? We're doing all sorts of reviews on the channel now, or at least on the website mostly, where we're doing video game reviews. And I think I'm going to try to start making videos of the games that we're reviewing too, if I can get the time for it. But at least we got music reviews going on there, all sorts of stuff like that, where you're able to comment now on the channel, like on the website. And of course, we made it over. I think we're at like over 1,200 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
actually, we're over 1,500 now.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
That didn't take
it's
that damn long.
yeah, it's 1516 as of right now.
Fucking
So
shit. Well, thank
yeah,
everybody for fucking following us on YouTube and shit. And Now, if you
Well,
just
actually,
do that on
take that back. I
TikTok
just
and all this shit,
refreshed. It's 1518. So, yeah, it just
jeez,
keeps. I don't know what the hell.
yeah, it
Yeah.
just
Thanks
keeps
everybody
going, which
for
is cool.
just
We're very
thanks everybody
thankful though that
who's subscribing.
we're just trying to like have fun talking about shit and like reviewing stuff and everything else. So with all that being said, check out all of our other podcasts. We have Scream Creeps, we got Sci-Fi Graveyard, we even have Fill in Blanks, which I want to do an anime one as soon as I can come up with a fucking name for it. So, and all that said, we will talk to you guys in the next podcast.
Yeah, have a good one. Check out theheartofgeek.com for all of our content.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Have a good night. We'll see you
Peace out.
somewhere. We'll either be on Twitch or somewhere. So
Yep.
have a good night. Peace out.